Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. I was going to do a quick little update on the progress on the drag bike build. I've got a fair chunk done since my last update. I've had a little bit of downtime in between jobs while we're waiting on parts, so a little bit of time to get a bit more done on it. I've got the oil tank fabricated. I just need to make mounts for it, for the actual tank and then some for the frame. I've got the fuel tank welded up, sorted, mounts are on there, I just need to shape them and mount it to the frame. I've had to do a modification to the frame and move the seat, because mine at oversight, I didn't account for my chain clearance for the size of wheel that I've gone with now. So one of the cross brace that was in there, the chain was pretty much right through the centre of it, so I've rebuilt all that. So we'll show you some of that now. So what I've ended up doing is chopping the entire back section that was there off and rebuilding for a new bit, so that everything lines up and I've got clearance on my chain. The wheel still needs spacing and still needs a lot of cleanup. I've got to figure out my caliper mount for it, as well as modify the one section of the hub. I've got to modify this section of the hub to take some studs, as well as skim it down and machine about 1/4 of an inch off it, and then I've got to make a front sprocket to bring everything in line. I managed to get most of the exhaust sorted. I just need to make the bottom bracket for it to hold it up, but for all intents and purposes the exhaust is complete to where I need it, and then I've just got to fully weld it all out. I've started sorting all my breathers, breather lines, my fuel line fittings out, and placement of them all. Like I say, I'm running -6 fittings on everything, barring my vent lines. My vent lines are going to be -4, but top of the tank I've got the vent line at the top next to the cap. There's a little billet filler neck for it. The tank should hold, if my calculations and maths right, it should hold about 3.5 litres of fuel. That catch tank can't be used. It's too small for the regulations, so I've got to make another one. So I've got material on its way for that. Sorted a little dash panel out. So I've got my rev counter, button for the start stop. I've also got my start button. It does have a little green LED that I'm going to tie into the neutral light switch, just in case I want to use it. My little red LED for the oil pressure, and then the little switch to turn the back light on for when I need it. And then I've got an aircraft aviation style 2-pin plug that's going to run the main power, which effectively is going to be the key for the bike. So that's going to be attached to me via a lanyard, so that if anything does happen, and in the unfortunate event if I do come off, it just pulls that clean out and that'll shut the power off. As I say, I've got the oil tank welded up with all my fittings. So I've got the return fitting, the centre one is my vent, and then a feed off the side, drain plug in the bottom, and again another billet cap. This one's a bit mangled because in my infinite wisdom I put it on while it was still warm and it's just seized, so I've got a new one then that arrived today, so I'm going to cut that off and just re-weld a new one to it, and then figure how I'm going to mount it. But this is ultimately going to be mounted somewhere around there on the front of the frame. And I've got my front wheel in. This front wheel at the moment I'm going to be running the front wheel off an XS 650. I have got special ball bearings for it, so it adapts from the standard jack bike wheel to a 3/4 inch axle. I've got just enough clearance on my forks for the disc. I can shave the back down a smidge, but I shouldn't need to. And then the caliper mount is going to be on the side, bolted through from the back, so I've got plenty of clearance, and then it'll be mounted on here because I'm running a radial. I'm going to be running dual caliper on the front and rear. I'm going to be using the master cylinder either off a V-rod or a Tourer, and being the same, and they're running full pot calipers on both sides, so that should be enough to run the caliper that I've got. As I say, I've got a set of Takiko calipers, front, two fronts, they're off a CBR 1000 RR, so they're just going to get mounted roughly down there, and I've just got to make the adapter mount, send that off for machining, or design it and then send it off to our CNC guy over at Quantum Quality Solutions to get machined. I've got to do the same again with the rear caliper, so I'm going to be running both, and I have two of them, so I'm going to be running one on the front, one on the back, and that should give me a hell of a lot of stopping power. I've also started figuring out the headlight cowling. That's not really going to be a headlight cowling, but that's a genuine Harley speed, what's it called? Speed screen. So I'm going to modify that, blend it out so it's not got a big hole, and make it look a bit nicer. But then underneath it is pretty much all the electrics where they're going to run. So I've got my starter relay, 2 circuit breakers for running the lights and my clock, as well as the main circuit breaker. I'm going to run, the battery in the back. I've started roughly figuring out how I'm going to mount it. Potentially going to be using just a standard AGM style battery for it, because I can mount it on its side and it will keep the weight low. It'll keep the centre of gravity down at the bottom of the bike instead of a bit higher up. And the breather lines are all going to get run from the heads and the crankcase breather, as well as the fuel tank breather, to a catch tank that's going to be down at the front of the frame. So we've got to make that when that material turns up. And then figure out my rear foot pegs. So they're going to probably be roughly around here, somewhere in there with a linkage, so I can run my gear shifter off a pivot point in the centre of the frame here. So I'm going to have basically a push-pull system. So as I push down on the brake, it's going to push the pivot mechanism on the bottom and pull the ratcheting mechanism for the gear shifter backwards. And same on the other side, I'm going to just do the brake and then run the lines round to the caliper, making sure that this time round I have clearance for everything. So it's been a little bit of progress. A lot of it is just waiting on having funds available to be able to do it, because as most people know, racing is expensive. Building bikes is expensive, and then you combine the two and it gets real expensive. And so hopefully I can start getting a couple more bits. I need rear tyre so I can figure out what bodywork I'm going to be doing on the back, whether I do a full one-piece body like a Pro Mod, or do I just go mudguard and struts and then a little seat unit on it and have the frame open, because in my opinion that is a bloody good looking frame. I like the stance of it and the look of it, it just looks nice. And like I say, I've got to figure out the mounting bracket for the front, and then just get all the final little components like the master cylinders. I am going to get a new clutch lever and perch for it. The one I was going to run, I was going to modify a broken one that we've got that was a takeoff part from a bike that got dropped. So it just broke one of the retaining tabs at the bottom. So I was going to re-weld all that and drill it back out to take a pin. But for the sake of what it's going to cost me for the master cylinder, I might as well get both of them together and get a full set. They are going to be used in second-hand parts, but I know they're coming from a good source and they are fully operational, so that should be fine for it. And other than that, it is going to be a bit of a slow progress now for the next couple of weeks, because as I say, I'm only able to do work on it properly after hours, like 2 or 3 days a week when I've got a chance. And without having parts, I can't really do much other than sit staring at it and go, ooh, that looks very pretty. So hopefully I can get a lot more done now over the next week or so. I really do need to start filming more of it so you can actually see what goes into some of it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for now. I will try and keep doing more updates, and obviously if you follow me on Instagram, there is a couple more updates that go up on there before I've got the video out. So you'll be able to see a little bit of a sneak preview of what progress I've got done before the next video comes out. But that's all I've got for today. So hope you tune back in, and thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.